around with MegaMagic guitars on Kontakt. It's pretty cool. And I'm going to give you a tour of all these cool patches. My name is John Skippy Limcool. Welcome to another video tutorial. I originally released MegaMagic guitars for Omnisphere, and it was 2 volumes. There was a volume 1, which was multi-samples, and there's a volume 2, which was single sampled patches. And complete means I've combined those 2 into one library for Kontakt. They work really well together, and for the bonus patches, I was able to combine patches from both of the libraries together, which was kind of fun, different, unique, find something special for this library. So I'm going to show you real quickly the layout of the library, how it works, show you the bonus patches. I also want to touch base on the actual installation. There's something, this library comes with something unique. Some of the bonus patches, and I'm going to give you a warning ahead of time. These, I hope this is a bug and I hope it gets fixed. But the rock patches, I put patches might break as a warning here and here. Because the patches in between here use distortion. And this distortion, if you turn it on, it will make noise at times. And it's a very loud, painful noise. And let me show you an example. So let's call this up, see if it will play. Please don't blow. Really cool stuff. A different sounding distortion than what you're going to find inside of Omnisphere. And some of these have distortion on the reverb sounds, which is really cool. So these distortion, some of these presets use, this one doesn't, but I have other ones that use convolution impulse response distortions. This is the location on your Mac computer where you find your native instruments folder. It's in your documents folder. And right here's the Kontakt 5 folder. The standard location, typically I'll put on the screen for PCs. There's a folder inside of Kontakt 5 that says IR samples, like that. That is where you need to put the Guru Guitar IR folder, which has, if you listen to these, they're really impressive. I mean, incredible. Check this out. Pops. That's the sounds of the distortion. But what it does is really cool. Check this out. Let's go to, I know I'm supposed to show you the library. I always get sidetracked. It's just the way it works. Let's go to Stratocaster, to one of the open dry. Right? Open this up and make sure that we're on the limiter, which means we're on the insert effect chain. So we go insert effects and we can go right here and say effects, convolution. And then, so now that we have that, let me open this up. And we have to go over here to the documents, native instruments, right here, Kontakt 5. So here's the folder. Check this over so you can see it. Here's the folder with the samples. What you do is you can click and drag and come down here and turn down the dry so it's just wet. And it doesn't sound like much by itself, right? But if you change the order, let's add, let's say, Screamer and Jump. We might even need, put Screamer at the beginning, put a compressor at the beginning, and now we can go over here and double click these to see the settings. We don't want any clean. We don't need a limiter. So let's put that over here at the end of the chain. Convolution. Okay, now, since I've dragged one over, I could just use these arrows to switch to the other. There's 8 total. Like the compressor is hitting too hard, so the compressor needs to go to the beginning. And let's have the threshold brought up a little bit. Out. You can get really cool distortions using. Here's without it. Add it, and you all of a sudden have this really cool. A very cool, round, big, warm kind of distortion sound. And a lot of that sound is coming. A lot of that is coming from the convolution reverb. Isn't that cool? So if you load this library, you'll get this error message on some of the rock guitar patches that it's missing these if you don't put this in the right place. And I can't emphasize enough, it has to be that name. It's the same rule. This is the same place the MIDI files for Super Macho drums go, but there's another folder that says IR samples, and that's where you put this folder, the Guru Guitar IR. So make sure you install it in the right location, and then everything will work, okay? As far as to the battery save, I have the installation video just previous to this a little bit. There's a number of videos on Super Macho drums. The number one installation talks about battery save right here. If you're getting error messages, if these buttons and knobs show up sideways, sliders and stuff, then you need to do a battery save for it to reconnect everything to work. And that's covered in that video, so I'm not going to go over those steps right now. Okay? So, the Volume 1 multi-sample guitars work like this. So let's call up the 12 string, and yes, we want to replace this. Let's open up the mapping editor, and here you can see there are the 6 samples that make up this. And there's a number of variations. There's 4 to each one. The dry, let's do MM1 first. This is the really cool chain of 3 different reverbs. I'll pop up on the screen so you can see the chain that I used on the dry samples. So each of these guitars is presented because, to be quite honest and perfectly blunt, there are killer 12-string guitar sample libraries by a number of companies that use literally thousands of samples. I'm using 6. So my dry just natural is not going to be up to the same as those in its vibe. If you like keyboard workstation kind of things, it's great because that's kind of where it is. But when you go to the MegaMagics, this is where the unique qualities of these libraries are. This is there's no place else you can go to get this sound that I know of. And then the Intimate is a special version of the MegaMagic 1, the non-pitch. MM2s have that octave shifting. And I can show you how I get that. Let's go back to the dry for a second. Give you guys a little tour. So Valhalla makes a really cool reverb called Shimmer, right here. And so this is now on the guitar sounds. So if I turn this off, it's dry with a little reverb, but so this has shift already up to octaves. Let's make it big stereo. and then bring up feedback. And just goes crazy. Right? And you have size. You want a bigger room. It's really cool. So when I made... Okay, stop now. When I made the MegaMagic 2, I actually automated these parameters over time so that it would grow and go away, so that it didn't just take over like it does, because that kind of gets to be too much. But if you play this, and it goes down. I automated parameters in the sequencer while playing the dry samples to do that. Okay? So that's how that works. MM1 is just a really, really long, beautiful, lush reverb. Intimate is a more velocity dynamic version of MM1. So this is nice reverb. It's like more dynamic than a real guitar. I've had a couple guys write back and say, I can't believe how playable this is in Kontakt. Usually in Kontakt you have sample libraries, and if you play different velocities, it's different samples that it's switching between. I'm using the filters, I'm using key tracking, I'm using all sorts of tricks in the engine of Kontakt to get really dynamic velocity to a single sample, so that this one sample can seamlessly go from dark to bright. So I like to play that better than something that's switching between 7 different samples and you hear a hiccup in velocity and brightness and stuff between each of the dynamic ranges. In some cases you can trick people, but usually you can't. So I like this better. Anyway, so there's a 12 string, there's electric sitar, right? Which with the reverb and the MM2 is awesome. Just lovely stuff. There's a nylon. I'll play the MM1 of the aria. Just lovely to play. Okay. The direct input of the Yamaha is really nice. Total different vibe. Right? The Steel 6, there's both dry, check this out. And then the direct input. Here's the DI dry. Oh, that was DI dry, here's the mics. Especially up here. Hear that? The DI doesn't have the same it's lovely. Yes, we went to replace. But the MM1 version of the direct input is just really cool. They each have their own qualities, their own strengths. And then there's one more steel string, and that's the Martin. And I just love the... Really cool. So those are the Volume 1 multi-sample guitars. In the Volume 2 folder, which is the single sample guitars, there's this. We'll start with this. This is the Dsp Synth. So Black Hole is kind of unique. That's because it was made using this guy. This is Sculpture, which is a synthesizer physical modeling type of a plugin. This is part of the same kind of engine that you find in the Korg Wave Drum and in the Korg Kronos. And I used it to make this guitar sound. And then I sampled it with the reverb for the MM1 version. Get a nice rolling. There's a couple different versions. The Res pad has a, I believe it was a MegaMagic pads sound behind it going through the Moog bandpass filter with an LFO on it. So hear that little tail afterwards? That's lovely, fun to play. So these again are single samples. If you open up the mapping editor, it's one sample across the whole keyboard. And I'm quite proud with how well they play for being a single sample. The jazz guitar, believe it or not, works really, really well. If you go to like the, let's just say the open, dry, like this. So there's a number of different variations. And that's dry, and here's with the MegaMagic reverb. I've gotten so many notes from customers that have bought this in the last couple of days that are saying, I finally had to go to bed about 4 in the morning. They're fun to play, really cool to play. Octave Softy. Okay. There's glides. You'll find the glides for each instrument in their respective instrument folder. So you have one track with the guitar playing just the notes and then have a glide come in every now and then. It's very convincing. When we get to the bonus patches, I did a velocity glide right here, the velocity to, where is it? Right here, velocity glide Martin. So you can, play soft, play harder, you get the glide. Very nice. We'll show more bonus in a second. So back here, the electric sitar, the black hole, the different guitars. The other one that has a lot of samples that you don't find inside the volume 1 multi-samples is the Strat. And this is where you find both the mutes, sounds great with the distorted presets and all that kind of stuff. And there's different presets for the high and for the low. And the MegaMagics are cool for the really cool. The Strat Mellow. That's nice. The actual MegaMagic version is even nicer because the reverb just kind of rounds it out and makes it even more playable across the whole keyboard range. So there's a bunch of different strats, different personalities. And I showed earlier the distortion, how that can do some really great, this is how you get all sorts of cool rock guitar sounds. Softies. great across the whole keyboard. Right? So it goes on and on. There's the glides, there's vibratos, there's even kind of a country twang for the... Put some reverb, a little distortion, and it just really comes to life. It's really great. So that's the Volume 2 guitars. Let's go to the bonus, because this is where there's some fun, creative stuff. Some of the basses. There's a Pluck P Bass. And if you hold it out, this is the MegaMagic version. If you wanted, it'd be really easy to go here to the mapping editor, to the Strat mute, and as you can see, the dry and the MegaMagic are used together, so you could actually just turn down this one, and now you don't have any MegaMagic. So you can go in and edit these very easily to do all sorts of fun things. Rachmaninoff, the original was this one. We gotta say yes. Kind of got a quality like a fretless. And the Rachmaninoff chorus is obviously with and I made this notice, it's set to a maximum number of notes of 3. The sound is actually a layer, if you go to list view, of 3 different samples. So it's monophonic. So when you play one note and play another note, it cancels the previous note to play the new note. That way you can play busy, fast stuff and you don't get muddy. Even though there's a little bit of release and stuff on it. That's kind of fun. Then we get to bells. A couple different ones. Ocean, here's octaves. Okay. The BPM stuff is epic. So this is, just so we know what's going on, I went to the script editor and I went to the empty, there's empty pages here, but this one was also empty. But if you go to presets, you can go to factory and to sequencing, and there's the arpeggiator, and you can load that up, and it loads this up. Then I set it up. If you wanted, you could say match. If you wanted, you could say mode set to hold. So now it plays while you take your hands off the keys. I just set to on. And I put it to MIDI through, which means it let an original note play, and the original note is going through glitch. And it's set to 3 repeats. If I set this to be 5 repeats, and now there's 5. And the tuning is set here, so I could set this to something like a 5th. There's 7ths. Or I say octaves. Or octaves down. So after it gets done with the glitch stuff, it stops and the arpeggiator keeps going, which I thought was kind of cool. So a couple different takes on that. So you have glitch stuff happening and arpeggio. So it just depends on how you play them. Really fun. Here's one with distortion. Okay. Pulsing. Mod wheel up, the pulsing's gone. And that's accomplished in a tricky way. You would go to the filter and open up the mod. You know, it's not the filter. I take that back. So it's a tricky way. In order to get this, you would go over here to, if you see the pulsing happening on the volume? So hit mod, and you see it's an LFO sawtooth. And if you hit this, it will take you down into the editor so you can see what's going on. And then here's where you see the mod parameters, where I have MIDI CC of number 1, which is mod wheel, inverted, so it takes the value of the LFO away. The intensity. So when the mod wheel's up all the way, there's no LFO. I'm going to bring the mod wheel down. So we're getting deep into the engine and the tools inside of Kontakt 5 to do that. Those are cool. Sprinkle sauce. Again, mod wheel will make it go away. And here's Tomorrow's Heroes. I can slow it down. Okay, so there's all sorts of stuff like that. This needs to be faster, so let's go over here and say 120 beats per minute for this one. Cool, huh? Here's BPM pad, quarter past anxiety. So okay, and so oh, here's the BPM pad, a quarter past anxiety. I think there's a guitar glide in there. You know that pitch offset? That's where the anxiety comes from. Okay, and here's Almost Home. And this one's fun because it's doing stuff to the volume, the LFO here. And if you want, here's how you change the timing. You could either change by intervals here, and there's 2 of them. So you can have 3/4, or divide it into 4 quarter notes. So lots of flexibility of the timing right there. If you want to change the time of it, go into the editor, and that's how you do it. Night Chills. Love that one. These are the chords. One note. Gotta have a big house thing, right? One note. There's all these phrases in the volume 2 of the library, and there's actually a menu right here of all the phrases, both reverb and dry. So if you hit the mapping editor, here's all the samples. And check this out. I did a fun thing here where it's set up. So this is all set up. All you gotta do is say select by MIDI and make sure edit all groups is off. And now and let's have it panned here. There. You can change the tuning of every sample. Do that kind of stuff very easy with these menus. It's fun. So going back a little bit, we were up here looking at the chords. Sprinkle sauce. And this is using lo-fi. And if you hear it changing, that's because the lo-fi is cool in that you can set up with the mod to have an LFO changing the sample rate. Just a little bit. Again, if I click this, I'll go down and see, it'll highlight. I'm using just a triangle LFO. Make it fast. I want the range to be really wide. Right? But I want it to be really slow. I think I had about 11. And less range, so it's just playing with ear candy things. It's just shifting through a couple different frequencies. But if you want to play with it, that's how you do it. The mod are these little hidden areas that each area has. Some things like the distortions, there is no mod. See how it doesn't say mod there, but the lo-fi does? So some things don't. So you just have to click the filters for sure, have a mod, so you can modulate the filter settings if you want. So, how do you do it? Okay. This is the layer of the 12 string and the nylon together. If you can't see the layering in the normal view, you can hit this view to see what's layered on top of each other. Okay, it's fun to play. Beautiful. This is a velocity switch. This looks like a city block. Or actually a couple city blocks. Yeah, I live right over here. See, that's where I live. No, this is 4 different guitars, the 12 string, the Martin, the Yamaha direct input, the Aria nylon, and then the 12 string again at the top of the range. So depending on how hard you hit a velocity, pop it. So you get the sound like this, like 4 different guitars playing at different times, different notes, and it's just by velocity. So that was fun. The lonelies, there's a series of lonelies here, and there's a 1 and a 2. Lonely 1 starts kind of like in the middle of the lonely range. It's kind of dark, but you hear what it is still as far as whether it's steel string or nylon. And the mod wheel will make it darker. To the edge. of silence. Okay? The 2 starts at that complete edge of silence. And then the mod wheel and if you want to recreate stuff like this, you have to do this. The filter does not track properly by itself. So the low pass filter, you have to go in and you have to add a key position. And if you hit add modulator and you go to external sources, that's where you will find key position. And it only takes a little bit. And what this does is this balances like a teeter-totter the filter. I've brought it up to where it's going to be really bright up here. And as I go down, it gets darker here. And down here, it's so dark it's gone. So you can control this range until you get it to be the equal amount of darkness across the whole keyboard. Ends up being about 11. If you want to get really carried away, you can actually go to here, and this is a lookup table, and there's all sorts of presets. We could go factory, random. So each note, bring up our intensity so we can tell. Some notes are really bright and some are really dark. Or you could say, don't make it active, make that go away, and just use the value like it's supposed to be. So key tracking is important. So I use key position. That's their term for key tracking, just to keep everybody on their toes. Give it a different name. And then the mod will get it brighter. So that's the idea behind the Lonely 1, Lonely 2. Lonely 1 is here, and the mod wheel goes down. Lonely 2 starts at the very bottom of the Lonely register. And the mod wheel. So you can get these really beautiful. If you do film, you need dark stuff like that all the time. That's what I made them for. Now, after the Lonelies, you come to the rock guitar presets, and these are sometimes breaking. And so I put a warning with this little XXX patches might break. If you play these, there's a possibility of like 50 dB white noise distortion. Like, we will probably break while I'm showing you. So check this out. Different distortion settings. Really cool distortion. That was broken. Here's the tremolo. I love this for the... And these sound really good. Check this out. Here's a, let's play a little bit of, here's Buzzing the Tower. That's all, the drums are super macho drums. The guitar is a new patch that will be coming out in a free bunch. I'm gonna like do 10 more patches that will be free before I go to the NAMM show to give away to everybody that's bought this library. And that's one of the patches is for that guitar. It's a really cool guitar sound. So there's all sorts of different guitar presets. The velocity mutes are really cool from a... Dreamer, come on. There it is. Okay. So the other stuff we have, the Silky Strat. that. Here's the Sitar and Steel, which is a sitar and a steel string guitar. Came out really nice. Smoky amplifier. So you have that kind of a jazz guitar if you want. Snappy nylon. We'll take a minute to talk about this interface. So I'm using the filter to use a filter EG. The relationship between the filter cutoff knob, the intensity of the filter EG, and the velocity to filter, those three are all interconnected. So bring this down. Now there's no velocity control. So once you set it, if I bring this up, it's going to get brighter. See how I'm getting more range of the plucky now? So you have that to work with. So the interface, you've got volume, pan, pitch, the filter, which can switch between a low pass and a high pass. Your output, this becomes really important. I'm going to do a follow-up video showing you one of the songs where if I was to say I want a bass to be playing as well, so I could go down here and drag. This is on MIDI channel 2, and I would go right here and I would say output 2. And then right here I would say output 2 for both of those, so the effects and the sound itself now are going to output 2. Whereas this is output 1, stereo 1, right? So you have stereo 1, stereo 2. This is where you determine that. So that way in your mixer, you'd have to go over here. And in your sequencer DAW, you would go to your Kontakt plugin, and in Logic, I can just say I want to be multi-output or I want to be stereo. If it's multi-output, then I have a little checkbox right here, which allows me to add. So if I was to change this to be MIDI channel 2, the bass is coming out that second set of outputs. So that way I've got a guitar on one output and a bass on another output. And when you're doing songs, you really want things on their own channels. Even in the digital world, it gives you a lot more control. There's more clarity. The mix will sound much better than if you have your like 3 or 4 parts coming to the same stereo outputs inside of a single plugin. You can break it out. So that's how you do it. Okay. So let's get that back to be like that. And get this back to being MIDI channel all, which defaults to 1. And close that down. Save. No. Make this go over here. And we were back to where we were. Okay. Snappy. Then there's using the MM1 and the MM2 layers together. Beautiful sound. Okay. Steel and nylon. Really lovely. Here's the velocity to glides. So you have and then the MegaMagic version, which has the so you can do that kind of lovely stuff. While the Snow Melts is cool. Fast filtering. kind of a tricky sound. Wide. And this is done by using a MegaMagic 2 on the left and a MegaMagic 1 on the right. So it's nice. Then keys. We have a couple. Kind of thing. We got Skippy's toy piano. Nice. Here's the glides. And again, it's all set up so you can go in, just make sure that you have the set to select by MIDI and this edit all groups not lit up. And now you have control over it. So you can make all sorts of alternate melodies. And the same goes for the next one, which is the phrases. You can play with those as well to get all sorts of fun stuff happening. The pads. This is really cool. The compressor and the envelopes inside of the Kontakt version, I couldn't quite do this with the Omnisphere version, but with the Kontakt version, I can get these really nice pads. Now they fade out, so it's technically not a complete pad, but the shape, and because of how long it takes for them to fade out, I decided to keep them considered pads. And there's a number of different types. Somber. It's got some lo-fi. Here's somber with purity. Just no lo-fi. So many sounds. So I tried to push it out of the normal box of just guitars. So as you can see, we're doing pads, bass and bells and keys, BPM. It's pretty wide ranging. And they sound great in a mix. I've used them already in a couple songs and lovely. The MM2 with the growing octaves. Lovely. Let's go down low. Dramatic film moments. And again, you could bring it all the way up, but that's almost cooler. Bring up some more reverb. Make it a bigger reverb. Yeah, that's cool. All right. So many pads. I'm just going to keep going past these guys. Plucks. I like that. Icefield Checkerboard. That's a fun name. Guitar's harp. I think that's it. No, I made some synth stuff at the very last minute. These are really cool. These comps. just stabby things. You need a little... They don't sound all that impressive, but you need those in your song sometimes for the comping glue parts that keep a song going. They're useful for that type of thing. So that's the library. Like I said, there's a bonus set of patches that's going to come out just before the NAMM show. So there's 68 patches now in the bonus folder. This will give you, I think we're aiming at 10 more patches at least. So you'll have 78 patches in the bonus folder that are exclusive just to the Kontakt version. These two folders are the same that you will find in the Omnisphere versions. And Omnisphere 2, the volume 2 for Omnisphere, has a whole bunch of bonus patches that I made some, Airwave made some, Jason Schopfer made some. So there's different things for each one of these. We're taking these samples and trying to find new ways of using them in these different plugins that have different strengths. So hope you guys appreciate that effort to expand what you can do with these. And that's it for this. Thank you for watching. Thanks for your support as always. And we'll see you soon in the next video.